Gerald Wilson's day at the Intergalactic Medical Center takes an unexpected turn as he unwittingly triggers an alien nurse's heat cycle. The 28-year-old human male steps into the examination room on Space Station Omega, oblivious to the biological storm he's about to unleash. Zara, a wadi nurse, greets Gerald with professional detachment. Her iridescent scales shimmer under the bright medical lights, and her large, luminous eyes blink methodically as she prepares for the routine physical. The wadi, known throughout the galaxy for their cold logic and precise control over their biological functions, have never experienced uncontrolled mating urges. As Zara begins the examination, her body betrays her. Her scales flush with vibrant colors, and her breathing quickens. She emits powerful pheromones, filling the air with an intoxicating scent. Gerald, still unaware, notices her erratic behavior and increasing proximity. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the medical center. Red lights flash, and security protocols engage. The examination room seals shut with a hiss, trapping Gerald and the increasingly aroused Zara inside. Dr. Krell's voice crackles through the intercom. "Mr. Wilson, we have a situation. Your presence has triggered an unprecedented mating response in Nurse Zara. We're containing you to prevent potential spread to other wadi." Gerald's eyes widen as he processes the information. How is that possible? "We don't know," Dr. Krell responds, tension evident in his voice. "Your unique human biology seems to be the catalyst. Until we understand the cause and develop a solution, you must remain in quarantine with Nurse Zara." Outside the sealed room, chaos erupts. Human diplomats demand Gerald's immediate release, while wadi officials insist on containing the potential biological hazard. The incident spreads like wildfire through the space station's communication channels, causing a rift between the human and wadi populations. Inside the examination room, Gerald grapples with the gravity of the situation. Zara's condition intensifies, her luminous eyes fixed on him with a primal hunger he's never encountered. The air grows thick with tension and pheromones. "How long will this take?" Gerald asks, his voice wavering as he maintains distance from the affected nurse. Dr. Krell's response is grim. "We don't know. Our scientists are working around the clock, but this is unprecedented. Your presence on this station now poses a potential threat to our entire population if the effect proves widespread." Gerald's mind races. He's trapped in close quarters with an alien experiencing an intense mating urge, potentially responsible for a diplomatic crisis, and facing an unknown period of quarantine. As Zara moves closer, her scales pulsating with vibrant hues, Gerald realizes that his routine physical has become a test of interspecies relations, self-control, and the unexpected Gerald and Zara exchange a quick glance, their shared concern amplified through their bond. As chaos erupted around them, they knew that their unique connection might be the key to saving the station, and possibly the future of human-wadi relations. As chaos erupted around them, they knew that their unique connection might be the key to saving the station, and possibly the future of human-wadi interactions. Gerald and Zara rushed to the central control room, their minds synchronizing as they navigated the panicked crowds. Upon arrival, they found Dr. Krell and his team frantically working to identify the source of the life support failure. "Mr. Wilson, Nurse Zara." Dr. Krell acknowledged them, his eye stalks swiveling in their direction. "Your assistance is crucial. We need to access the auxiliary systems, but the security protocols are proving difficult to bypass." Without hesitation, Gerald and Zara approached the main console. As they placed their hands on the interface, their shared consciousness expanded, allowing them to process information at an unprecedented rate. Lines of code flashed across the screen as they worked in perfect harmony, their enhanced cognitive abilities pushing the limits of the system. Suddenly, Zara gasped, her scales flashing a brilliant array of colors. "Gerald," she whispered, her voice trembling, I'm remembering something ancient. In that moment, a flood of images cascaded through their shared mental link. Visions of a lush, primordial world filled their minds. A planet where early humans and proto-Wadi coexisted, their cultures intertwining in ways long forgotten by both species. As the memory faded, they found themselves staring at the now active auxiliary systems. The life support crisis had been averted, but a new mystery had presented itself. Dr. Krell, observing their reaction, leaned in closer. "What did you see?" he asked, his scientific curiosity piqued. Gerald struggled to find the words. It was a shared memory, but not ours. Something older, something hidden deep within Zara's ancestral consciousness. The revelation of this hidden memory triggered a series of events that would shake the foundations of Space Station Omega and the galactic community at large. Dr. Krell, intrigued by this discovery, immediately initiated a comprehensive historical research project, collaborating with both human and Wadi historians to uncover any evidence of past interactions between the two species. Over the next few weeks, the station buzzed with activity as researchers pored over ancient texts and artifacts. Gerald and Zara found themselves at the center of it all, their unique ability to access these ancestral memories making them invaluable to the project. One afternoon, as they assisted Dr. Krell in analyzing a particularly cryptic set of Wadi hieroglyphs, an urgent message came through from the expedition team on a remote planet. Dr. Krell, the holographic image of the lead archaeologist flickered to life. "We've made a groundbreaking discovery. We've unearthed Wadi artifacts that bear striking similarities to early human tools and artwork. The implications are, well, they're staggering." The news spread rapidly across the station and beyond. Debates that had been simmering for months now reached a fever pitch. In the communal areas, humans and Wadi alike gathered in animated discussion. "This proves we're meant to coexist," one human exclaimed, gesturing excitedly. A Wadi elder countered, his scales shifting in patterns of concern. "Or it could be used to justify further integration, threatening our distinct cultures." Amidst the growing tension, Gerald and Zara found their bond continuing to strengthen. Each day brought new revelations as they delved deeper into Zara's ancestral memories, providing invaluable insights to Dr. Krell's research team. However, their unique abilities also put them at the center of increasing scrutiny. Commander Vex, growing increasingly paranoid about the implications of human-Wadi bonding, intensified his surveillance efforts. New security measures were implemented in the compatibility zone, including mandatory check-ins and random scans for all participants. As Gerald and Zara submitted to yet another scan, they couldn't help but notice the growing resentment among both humans and Wadi in the bonding program. "This is becoming intolerable," muttered a human participant, glaring at the security officers. A Wadi nearby flashed her scales in agreement, the patterns indicating frustration and anger. Meanwhile, Marcus Reed saw an opportunity in a historical discovery. He organized a large-scale event called the Unity Festival, bringing together humans and Wadi to celebrate their newly discovered shared heritage. As the day of the festival arrived, Space Station Omega was transformed. The main atrium was filled with a riot of color and sound, with humans and Wadi mingling freely, sharing food, music, and stories. Gerald and Zara moved through the crowd, their senses overwhelmed by the sheer energy of the event. Through their bond, they could feel the excitement and hope radiating from the attendees. Suddenly, their shared consciousness picked up on a discordant note, a spike of fear and anger cutting through the joyous atmosphere. Before they could pinpoint the source, chaos erupted. A group of Wadi, led by Elder Silax, burst into the atrium. They released canisters that hissed ominously, spewing a strange, shimmering gas into the air. "This has gone too far," Silax shouted, his scales flashing patterns of righteous anger. "We must protect our people from this. This abomination." As the gas spread, Several Wadi attendees began to react violently, their bodies convulsing as they entered intense heat cycles. The human participants nearby recoiled in shock and confusion. Gerald and Zara sprang into action, their enhanced abilities allowing them to quickly assess the situation. Through their telepathic link, they coordinated their efforts, moving swiftly through the panicked crowd. "It's a chemical agent," Zara communicated mentally to Gerald, "designed to disrupt our pheromone interactions." Gerald nodded, already formulating a plan. "We need to contain it. The environmental controls. If we can recalibrate them to filter out the agent." Together, they fought their way through the chaos to reach the environmental control panel. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization as they input commands, their shared consciousness allowing them to work at superhuman speed. As the station's air filtration system kicked into high gear, the shimmering gas began to dissipate. Medical teams rushed in to tend to the affected Wadi, while security personnel moved to apprehend Elder Silax and his accomplices. In the aftermath of the attack, Gerald and Zara found themselves once again in Dr. Krell's lab, recounting the events to the station's governing council. "Your quick thinking saved many lives today," Commander Vex admitted grudgingly, his posture stiff with unease. Dr. Krell's eye stalks swiveled between the council members. "This incident only underscores the importance of our research. We must understand our shared history if we're to move forward." As the council debated their next steps, Gerald and Zara exchanged a glance, their bond humming with a mix of exhaustion and tenacity. They knew that this was just the beginning of a long and challenging journey, one that would test the limits of their unique connection and potentially reshape the future of human-Wadi relations. As chaos erupted around them, they knew that their unique connection might be the key to saving the station and possibly the future of human-Wadi interactions. In the weeks that followed, Space Station Omega buzzed with activity as preparations for a groundbreaking expedition took shape. The recent discoveries had sparked a fervor for exploration and understanding that transcended the lingering tensions between humans and Wadi. Gerald and Zara found themselves at the heart of these preparations, their unique bond making them invaluable to the mission. As they worked alongside Dr. Krell and his team, they couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension about the journey ahead. "The Harmony Seeker," Gerald murmured, running his hand along the sleek hull of the expedition vessel. "A fitting name, don't you think?" Zara's scales shimmered with agreement, her thoughts mingling with his. "Indeed, though I wonder if harmony is truly what we'll find." Their moment of reflection was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Vex, his posture rigid as he approached. "Final checks are complete," he announced, his tone clipped. "We depart in 1 hour." As the commander strode away, Gerald and Zara exchanged a glance. They could sense the unease radiating from him, a stark contrast to the excitement that permeated the rest of the crew. The launch bay was a hive of activity as the final preparations were made. Dr. Krell scuttled back and forth, his eye stalks swiveling in all directions as he coordinated the loading of research equipment. Marcus Reed stood nearby, engaged in animated conversation with a group of human and Wadi volunteers, his eyes alight with the promise of discovery. Elder Silax, looking somewhat out of place amidst the bustle, stood off to the side, his scales shifting in patterns that Gerald now recognized as uncertainty and reluctance. As the boarding call echoed through the bay, Gerald felt a surge of emotion through his bond with Zara. Excitement, fear, and a deep sense of purpose intermingled, mirroring his own feelings. "Ready?" he asked, offering his hand. Zara's fingers intertwined with his, her scales warm against his skin. "As we'll ever be." The Harmony Seeker slipped free of Space Station Omega's docking clamps, its engines humming to life as it set course for Nexus Prime. As the station receded into the distance, Gerald couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving behind more than just a temporary home. The journey to Nexus Prime was marked by a palpable tension aboard the ship. The confined space seemed to amplify the ideological differences among the crew. Commander Vex implemented strict security protocols, much to the frustration of Marcus Reed and his supporters. During one particularly heated exchange in the ship's mess hall, Gerald and Zara intervened, their shared consciousness allowing them to navigate the complex emotions at play. "We understand everyone's concerns," Gerald began, his voice calm but firm. Zara continued seamlessly, "But we must remember why we're here. This mission is about uncovering the truth of our shared past." Their words seemed to have a calming effect, if only temporarily. As the argument subsided, Dr. Krell approached them, his eye stalks focused intently on the pair. "Fascinating," he murmured. "Your ability to synchronize your thoughts and speech is progressing rapidly. I wonder—" Before he could finish his thought, a sharp pain lands through Gerald's mind. He gasped, clutching his head, and felt Zara do the same beside him. In that moment, a flood of images cascaded through their shared consciousness. They saw lush, alien landscapes teeming with life. Primitive humans and early Wadi working side by side, building shelters, hunting, sharing knowledge. The visions were fragmented but vivid, carrying with them a sense of unity and purpose that took their breath away. As the vision faded, they found themselves back in the mess hall, surrounded by concerned faces. Dr. Krell was already scanning them with a handheld device, his eye stalks quivering with excitement. "What did you see?" he asked eagerly. Gerald and Zara shared a look, their minds still reeling from the experience. "Our past," Zara said softly. "A past we've forgotten." The rest of the journey was a blur of tests and debriefings, as Dr. Krell worked tirelessly to understand and document their experiences. With each passing day, more fragments of the shared past emerged, painting a picture of a time when humans and Wadi were not just allies, but integral parts of each other's societies. As they approached Nexus Prime, the anticipation aboard the Harmony Seeker reached a fever pitch. The planet loomed large in the view screen, its surface a tapestry of blues, greens, and swirling white clouds. "Initiating landing sequence," Commander Vex announced, his voice tight with impossibly strong emotion. As the ship descended through the atmosphere, Gerald felt Zara's hand slip into his. Through their bond, he sensed her mix of excitement and trepidation, mirroring his own. The Harmony Seeker touched down in a clearing near the original excavation site. As the airlock cycled open, the crew was hit with the rich, alien sense of Nexus Prime. The air was thick with the promise of discovery. Dr. Krell was the first to exit, his tentacles quivering with excitement as he surveyed the landscape. "Remarkable," he breathed, his eye stalks swiveling to take in every detail. As the rest of the crew disembarked, Gerald and Zara found themselves drawn to a nondescript hill nearby. Through their bond, they could sense something calling to them, buried deep beneath the surface. "There," they said in unison, pointing towards a hill. "We need to dig there." Marcus Reed, overhearing them, quickly organized a team to begin excavation. As the first layers of soil were cleared away, a glint of metal caught the alien sunlight. "It's some kind of door," one of the Wadi archaeologists called out, her scales flashing with excitement. As more of the structure was revealed, Gerald and Zara felt a growing pressure in their minds. Whatever lay beyond that door, they knew it held the key to unlocking the mysteries of their shared past. Commander Vex pushed through the crowd, his face a mask of concern. "We need to approach this cautiously," he began, but his words were cut short as Gerald and Zara stepped forward, their hands outstretched towards the ancient portal. The moment their fingers touched the cool metal surface, a surge of energy pulsed through them. The door shimmered and began to slide open, revealing a dark passageway that seemed to beckon them forward. As the expedition team stood in awe at the threshold of discovery, Gerald and Zara exchanged a look of purpose. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, their bond serving as a bridge between past and present, human and Wadi. The darkness beyond the door held the promise of answers, but also the potential for unforeseen challenges. As they prepared to take their first steps into the unknown, the weight of history and the future of two species rested squarely on their shoulders. As they stepped into the dark passageway, the air grew thick with anticipation and the musty scent of ages past. The expedition team followed close behind, their footsteps echoing in the narrow corridor. Suddenly, a brilliant light flashed, momentarily blinding everyone. When their vision cleared, they found themselves in a vast chamber filled with advanced technology beyond their wildest imaginations. At the center stood a towering device, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. Gerald and Zara felt an irresistible pull towards it, their shared consciousness humming with recognition. "Wait!" Commander Vex called out, but it was too late. The moment Gerald and Zara's hands touched the device, it sprang to life. Energy coursed through their bodies, and their minds expanded exponentially. In that instant, they saw the entirety of human and Wadi history unfold before them. But their revelation was cut short as the ground beneath them trembled. The activation of the neural enhancement device had triggered a chain reaction throughout the complex. Holographic barriers sprang to life, separating the team members into different sections of the facility. Gerald and Zara found themselves isolated in the central chamber, still connected to the device. Through their enhanced neural link, they could sense the complex's systems responding to their thoughts. "We can control the security measures," Zara said, her voice strained. Gerald nodded, feeling the weight of their newfound power. But for how long? As they struggled to maintain their connection, blood trickled from their noses, and a searing pain pulsed behind their eyes. In another section of the complex, Commander Vex and Marcus Reed found themselves trapped in an artifact storage room. The two men, who had been at odds since the beginning of the expedition, now faced a common challenge. "We need to find a way out," Vex said, his usual authoritative tone tinged with uncertainty. Marcus nodded, setting aside his frustrations with the commander's conservative approach. "Agreed. Let's start by examining these artifacts. They might hold a clue." As they worked together, a grudging respect began to form between them. Their conversation, once stilted and confrontational, gradually became more open and productive. Meanwhile, Dr. Krell had been separated from the others and found himself in a hidden laboratory. His eye stalks quivered with excitement as he examined a row of cryogenic pods. "Fascinating," he muttered, peering into one of the pods. Inside, he saw a perfectly preserved ancient human. In the next pod lay a Wadi from the same era. As he scanned the pods with his equipment, Dr. Krell's mind raced with the implications. "This is irrefutable evidence of our shared history," he said to himself, his tentacles twitching with excitement. In a chamber filled with historical records, Elder Silax found himself alone with the weight of history. Initially resistant, he began to examine the ancient texts and data crystals out of sheer boredom. As he delved deeper into the records, his scales began to shift, reflecting his changing mindset. "How could I have been so blind?" he whispered, his voice filled with awe and regret as he uncovered proof after proof of the benefits of human-Wadi cooperation. Outside the complex, the situation in orbit around Nexus Prime was deteriorating rapidly. New ships arrived from various factions, creating a tense standoff. Suddenly, a human extremist group opened fire on a Wadi science vessel. The space around Nexus Prime erupted into chaos as ships maneuvered and weapons flared. The conflict was brief but intense, only contained by the swift intervention of Space Station Omega security forces. Back in the central chamber, Gerald and Zara made a startling discovery through their neural link. "The Void Hunters," Gerald gasped, his eyes wide with fear. Zara nodded, her scales paling. "They're coming. The distress beacon we activated. It woke them." As they processed this information, they uncovered coordinates for a hidden defensive installation on a nearby moon. "We need to warn the others," Zara said, her voice weak from the strain of maintaining their connection. Throughout the complex, the expedition team faced new challenges as robotic guardians activated, forcing them to work together in ways they never had before. Humans and Wadi combined their unique abilities to overcome obstacles, showcasing the potential of their symbiosis. Dr. Krell, having escaped the cryogenic chamber, began the delicate process of reviving one of the ancient human-Wadi pairs. His tentacles worked with precision as he adjusted the controls, knowing that success could provide invaluable first-hand accounts of the original alliance. In the central chamber, Gerald and Zara pushed their neural link to its limits. With a final, Herculean effort, they managed to deactivate the complex's security systems. As the holographic barriers fell, they collapsed to the ground, their temporary bond severed. The expedition team regrouped, each member forever changed by their experiences. As they shared their discoveries, a new sense of purpose emerged. They now faced multiple challenges: securing the Nexus Prime facility, preventing further conflict in orbit, preparing for the Void Hunter's arrival, and safely extracting their newfound knowledge. Commander Vex, his earlier skepticism tempered by his experiences, took charge. "We need to split our forces," he announced, his gaze sweeping across the assembled team. Marcus Reed nodded in agreement, standing shoulder to shoulder with the commander. "One group must return to Space Station Omega to brief the Council and organize our defenses. The rest of us," Dr. Krell interjected, his eye stalks focusing on the coordinates Gerald and Zara had discovered, "must journey to this hidden moon base and activate its ancient defenses." As the team began preparations for their respective missions, Gerald and Zara found a moment of quiet amidst the chaos. They sat together, their fingers intertwined, feeling the loss of their telepathic connection keenly. "We'll find a way to reconnect," Gerald said softly, squeezing Zara's hand. Zara's scales shimmered with emotion as she met his gaze. "Together," she agreed, her voice filled with dedication. As the Harmony Seeker prepared for liftoff, carrying Commander Vex, Marcus Reed, and half the expedition team back to Space Station Omega, the remaining members gathered their equipment for the journey to the hidden moon base. The fate of two species hung in the balance, with the threat of the Void Hunters looming on the horizon. The weight of their responsibility bore down on them as they prepared for the challenges ahead. As the Harmony Seeker lifted off, carrying half the expedition team back to Space Station Omega, Gerald, Zara, Dr. Krell, and Elder Silax boarded a small shuttle bound for the hidden moon base. The cramped interior of the vessel amplified the tension between them as they embarked on their critical mission. Gerald and Zara sat side by side, their fingers intertwined, desperately trying to rekindle their weakened telepathic bond. Beads of sweat formed on Gerald's forehead as he strained to sense Zara's thoughts, while her scales flickered with frustration. "Anything?" Gerald asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara shook her head, her eyes filled with a mix of dedication and worry. "It's like grasping at smoke. I can feel you're there, but I can't connect." Dr. Krell's eye stalks swiveled towards them, his tentacles manipulating a handheld medical scanner. "Your neural activity is highly irregular," he reported, concern evident in his voice. "The intense connection you experienced earlier has left residual effects. I strongly advise against attempting to force a reconnection." Elder Silax, who had been silently observing from his seat, spoke up. "Perhaps the separation is for the best. Such a merging of minds goes against the natural order." Zara's scales flashed with indignation, but before she could retort, the shuttle's autopilot chimed, announcing their approach to the moon's surface. The barren, cratered landscape stretched out before them as they descended. Gerald's eyes scanned the desolate terrain, searching for any sign of the hidden installation. Suddenly, a flash of recognition passed between him and Zara, a remnant of their shared vision. "There," they said in unison, pointing to a nondescript crater. As they landed and disembarked, The team found themselves facing what appeared to be solid rock. Gerald stepped forward, his hand outstretched, guided by an instinct he couldn't explain. As his fingers brushed the surface, a shimmering energy field appeared, revealing a hidden entrance. "Remarkable!" Dr. Krell exclaimed, his tentacles quivering with excitement. "A cloaking technology far beyond our current capabilities." The team cautiously entered the facility, descending into its depths. They soon encountered a series of doors, each equipped with complex biometric scanners. "It appears to require both human and Wadi biological signatures," Dr. Krell observed, examining the first scanner. Gerald and Zara exchanged a look, then stepped forward together. As they placed their hands on the scanner, a surge of energy pulsed through them. For a brief moment, their minds connected, and the door slid open with a hiss. "It recognized us," Zara said, her scales shimmering with a mix of excitement and apprehension. As they progressed deeper into the facility, each security measure yielded to Gerald and Zara's unique bond. The strain of these repeated connections was evident on their faces, but they pressed on, driven by the urgency of their mission. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber that took their breath away. Rows upon rows of dormant satellites and energy weapons filled the space, their sleek designs hinting at technological capabilities far beyond current understanding. Dr. Krell immediately set to work, his tentacles flying over ancient control panels as he attempted to reactivate the systems. Elder Silax, setting aside his earlier reservations, joined the scientist, his knowledge of ancient Wadi dialects proving invaluable in deciphering the complex instructions left by their ancestors. As the system slowly hummed to life, Gerald and Zara found themselves drawn to a sealed door at the far end of the chamber. Through their fragmented bond, they sensed something of great importance beyond. "Dr. Krell," Gerald called out, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "We've found something." The scientist hurried over, his eye stalks widening as he scanned the door. "This chamber contains some form of advanced biotechnology. Its purpose is unclear, but it appears to be designed for neural enhancement." Zara's scales rippled with anticipation. "It could restore our bond," she said, turning to Gerald. Dr. Krell's tentacles waved in alarm. "The risks are unknown. I strongly advise against dash." But his words came too late. Gerald and Zara, driven by an overwhelming need to reconnect, had already activated the door's opening sequence. As it slid open, they stepped inside, hands clasped tightly together. The chamber was small, dominated by a pair of sleek, pod-like devices. Without hesitation, Gerald and Zara each entered one. Lying back as transparent covers sealed them in. "Wait!" Dr. Krell called out, but his voice was muffled as the pods activated. Inside, Gerald and Zara felt a tingling sensation spread throughout their bodies. The tingling intensified, becoming a searing pain that threatened to overwhelm them. Their backs arched, mouths open in silent screams as the biotechnology rewrote their neural pathways. Just as the pain reached an unbearable crescendo, darkness claimed them both. Outside the chamber, Dr. Krell and Elder Silax worked frantically to complete the activation of the defensive systems. A priority communication from Nexus Prime flashed on the main screen, reporting an escalating space battle in orbit. "We're out of time," Elder Silax said, his earlier skepticism replaced by unwavering tenacity. Dr. Krell nodded, his tentacles dancing across the controls. "Initiating full system activation now." As the ancient defenses roared to life, Gerald and Zara lay motionless in their pods, their fate uncertain. The chamber hummed with energy, the biotechnology continuing its work even as the rest of the facility prepared for war. In orbit around Nexus Prime, chaos reigned as ships exchanged fire. Suddenly, a swarm of sleek, unfamiliar satellites emerged from the direction of the moon. They moved with impossible speed and precision, engulfing the warring vessels in shimmering energy fields. Weapons fire died mid-trajectory, Engines sputtered and went dark. In a matter of moments, the battle was over, leaving the combatants floating helplessly in space. Back in the moon base, alarms blared as Gerald and Zara's pods opened with a hiss of escaping air. They sat up slowly, their eyes meeting across the chamber. In that instant, their bond flared to life, stronger and more vivid than ever before. Without speaking, they rose and walked to the main control room, their movements perfectly synchronized. Dr. Krell and Elder Silax turned to them, questions forming on their lips, but fell silent as they saw the change in the pair. Gerald's skin now had a subtle, iridescent sheen, reminiscent of waddy scales. Zara's normally cool body radiated warmth, her temperature regulation clearly altered. But it was their eyes that truly captured attention. They seemed to glow with an inner light, filled with knowledge and power beyond their years. As one, Gerald and Zara reached out to the control panel. The moment their fingers touched the surface, the entire facility hummed with renewed energy. Displays flared to life, showing not just the neutralized battle above Nexus Prime, but a vast network of defensive capabilities spanning the entire star system. By the ancestors, Elder Silax breathed, his scales shifting in awe. But there was no time to marvel at their newfound abilities. A new alert flashed on the screens, causing Gerald and Zara to stiffen in unison. The Void Hunters, they said, their voices overlapping in perfect harmony. They're coming. As the implications of this threat sank in, the team realized that their trials were far from finished. The true test of the reborn Human-Wadi alliance was yet to come, and the fate of two species hung in the balance. As Gerald and Zara processed the gravity of the Void Hunter's imminent arrival, an urgent transmission from Dr. Krell interrupted their thoughts. The scientist's tentacles quivered with excitement as he spoke. "Gerald, Zara, you must return to the underground complex immediately," Dr. Krell said, his eye stalks focused intently on the screen. "The ancient human Wadi pair we discovered in cryogenic stasis has regained consciousness. They're demanding to speak with you both." Gerald and Zara exchanged a quick glance, their enhanced bond allowing them to communicate without words. They knew this development could be crucial to their mission. "We're on our way," Gerald replied, his voice steady despite the tension in his shoulders. As they prepared to depart, Elder Silax approached them. "Be cautious," he warned, his scales shifting in concern. "These ancients may possess knowledge beyond our comprehension, but their intentions remain unknown." The journey back to Nexus Prime was swift, their small shuttle cutting through space with remarkable speed. Upon arrival, they were escorted deep into the underground complex, passing through layers of security that seemed to recognize their unique bioelectric signatures. In a dimly lit chamber, they found Dr. Krell waiting alongside two figures that radiated an aura of ancient wisdom. The human male, introduced as Arden, had silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through them. The Wadi female, Lasara, had scales that shimmered with an iridescence Gerald and Zara had never seen before. "So, you are the new bonded pair," Arden said, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "We've been waiting for you." Lasara's scales rippled with a mix of emotions as she added, "We have much to discuss and little time to do so." Over the next hour, Arden and Lasara revealed the true nature of the defensive network and the quantum core that powered it. They explained how the system drew energy from the bonds between human Wadi pairs, growing stronger with each new connection. "But there's a critical flaw," Arden said, his expression grim. "If the energy output becomes too great, it could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself." Lasara's scales darkened as she continued. "Your enhanced bond has accelerated this process. The quantum core is dangerously close to critical mass." Gerald felt a chill run down his spine, while Zara's scales flickered with alarm. They listened intently as the ancient pair outlined the dire consequences of allowing the core to reach critical mass, and the equally devastating results of severing all human Wadi bonds. As this information was relayed to Space Station Omega and the gathered fleets, chaos erupted. Ships began to maneuver into defensive positions, their crews divided on how to proceed. On Nexus Prime, Commander Vex and Marcus Reed worked tirelessly to maintain order. They organized joint research teams, bringing together the brightest minds from both species to study the ancient technology and search for a solution. "We need to stabilize the core without compromising our defenses against the Void Hunters," Marcus said, his voice firm as he addressed a group of anxious scientists. Commander Vex nodded in agreement. "Every moment counts. We must work together if we hope to survive." Back in the underground complex, Gerald and Zara made a decision that would change everything. "We'll interface directly with the quantum core," Gerald announced, his eyes meeting Zara's in silent understanding. Dr. Krell's tentacles waved in alarm. "The risks are immense," he protested. "The energy could kill you both, or worse." Arden and Lasara exchanged a knowing look. "We can guide you through the process," Lasara offered, her scales shimmering with a mix of hope and trepidation. As preparations were made, Gerald and Zara found a moment alone. They stood close, their foreheads touching, basking in the warmth of their connection. "Whatever happens," Zara whispered, her scales glowing softly, "we face it together." Gerald nodded, feeling the strength of their bond coursing through him. "Together," he echoed. The chamber housing the quantum core hummed with awe-inspiring energy as Gerald and Zara were connected to the system. Arden and Lasara stood nearby, ready to guide them through the perilous process. As their consciousness expanded, Gerald and Zara found themselves immersed in a vast network of energy, connecting all human Wadi pairs across the star system. The sheer magnitude of it was overwhelming, threatening to sweep them away. "Focus on your bond," Arden's voice echoed in their minds. "Use it as an anchor." Guided by the ancient pair's millennia of experience, Gerald and Zara began the delicate task of redirecting and balancing the energy flows. Their bodies glowed with an otherworldly light, the strain evident in their furrowed brows and clenched jaws. Outside the complex, the gathered fleets detected a massive surge of energy emanating from Nexus Prime. Panic spread as ships powered up their weapon systems, fearing an attack or catastrophic malfunction. "Hold your fire." Commander Vex's voice boomed across all channels. "Gerald and Zara are working to stabilize the core. We must give them time." As the procedure continued, Gerald and Zara's physical forms began to change dramatically. Gerald's skin sprouted iridescent scales, while Zara's body temperature rose to match that of a human. Their features blended, creating a unique hybrid appearance that was neither fully human nor Wadi. The pain intensified, causing them to cry out in unison. Dr. Krell monitored their vital signs with growing alarm, his tentacles trembling as he watched the readings fluctuate wildly. "Stay focused," Lasara urged, her voice strained. "You're close to a breakthrough." Just as it seemed they might be torn apart by the surging energy, Gerald and Zara's consciousness fully merged. In that moment of perfect unity, they perceived the quantum core as a single entity, understanding its intricate workings on a fundamental level. With newfound clarity, they began to reshape the core's energy structure. Their combined will acted as a sculptor's hands, molding the quantum energies into a stable, self-sustaining system. A pulse of energy radiated outward from Nexus Prime, washing over the gathered fleets and nearby planets. Instead of destruction, it brought a moment of profound connection, bridging the gap between humans and Wadi in a way never before experienced. As Gerald and Zara disconnected from the quantum core, their bodies forever changed by the ordeal, they knew their work was a long way to go. The Void Hunters still loomed on the horizon, and the newfound unity between humans and Wadi would be tested in ways they could scarcely imagine. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as pioneers of a new era in human-Wadi relations. relations as pioneers of a new era in human-Wadi cooperation. Their transformation, however, was just the beginning of a chain of events that would reshape the future of both species. As Gerald and Zara stepped away from the quantum core, their bodies still glowing with residual energy, they felt the weight of countless eyes upon them. Dr. Krell approached cautiously, his tentacles waving in a mix of concern and scientific curiosity. "Fascinating," he murmured, his eye stalks focusing on Gerald's newly formed scales and Zara's radiant skin. "How do you feel?" Gerald flexed his fingers, marveling at the iridescent sheen that now covered his body. "Different," he said, his voice a blend of human and Wadi tones. "But stronger, more connected." Zara nodded in agreement, her now warm body adjusting to its new temperature. "It's as if we can sense everything around us more acutely." Their moment of wonder was interrupted by a flurry of activity as news of their transformation spread throughout the facility and beyond. Screens lit up with urgent messages from both human and Wadi leaders, all demanding information about the energy pulse that had washed over their fleets. Commander Vek's voice boomed over the communication system. "Dr. Krell, we need a status report immediately. The entire system is in chaos." As they shared their discovery with the others, the weight of their responsibility pressed down upon them. The Alliance now faced multiple challenges: distributing the vaccine, managing the growing number of hybrid individuals, defending against potential Purist sabotage, and preparing to activate the ancient weapon. Gerald and Zara, still feeling the effects of the extraction, knew they would need to push their abilities to the limit. As they stood together, their hybrid forms a testament to what humans and Wadi could achieve together. They felt the eyes of both species upon them. The Void Hunters were coming, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The race against time had begun, and Gerald and Zara found themselves at the center of a storm that would determine the future of human-Wadi relations and their very survival. As they contemplated the challenges ahead, an urgent message from Dr. Krell interrupted their thoughts. "Gerald, Zara, we need you in the medical bay immediately." Dr. Krell's voice crackled through the intercom, his usual excitement replaced by a note of concern. The hybrid pair exchanged a glance before hurrying to the medical facility. As they entered, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Medical staff rushed between beds, monitoring equipment beeped incessantly, and the air was thick with tension. Dr. Krell's tentacles were a blur of motion as he gestured towards a group of patients. "The vaccine, it's having unforeseen effects," he explained, his eye stalks swiveling to focus on each patient in turn. Gerald and Zara approached the nearest bed, where a human woman lay. Her skin shimmered with a faint iridescence, and small, delicate scales had begun to form along her arms. "How is this possible?" Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Krell's tentacles drooped slightly. "The hybridization process appears to be more potent than we anticipated. It's not just enhancing mental resilience. It's triggering physical changes similar to your own transformation." As they moved through the medical bay, they saw more examples of the unexpected side effects. A Wadi male's body temperature had risen dramatically, his skin taking on a more human-like texture. Others displayed a mix of human and Wadi traits, each unique in its manifestation. "I've halted further distribution of the vaccine," Dr. Krell announced, leading them to a holographic display of the affected individual's DNA. "We need to understand the full extent of these changes before we proceed." Gerald nodded, his mind racing with the implications. "What about those who've already received the vaccine?" "We've established a quarantine zone within the facility," Dr. Krell replied. "For now, we'll monitor the affected individuals closely and work on developing a method to control or reverse the changes if necessary." As they discussed the situation, an alert sounded throughout the facility. Commander Vek's voice filled the air, tense and urgent. "Attention all personnel. We've received reports of increased Void Hunter activity at our outer defense perimeter. Their fleet appears to be accelerating its approach. All departments, prepare for potential early engagement. The news sent a ripple of activity through the medical bay. Dr. Krell turned to Gerald and Zara, his eye stalks narrowing with drive. We'll handle things here. You two should focus on unlocking that weapon system you discovered. With a nod, Gerald and Zara left the medical bay and made their way to the quantum core chamber. As they interfaced with the ancient system, they felt the familiar rush of data flooding their minds. There, Gerald said, his consciousness sifting through layers of code. I think I've found the activation sequence, but it's incredibly complex. Zara's mind intertwined with his, their hybrid physiology allowing for a deeper connection to the quantum core than ever before. Let's try to isolate the key components, she suggested, her mental touch guiding their shared focus. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly to decipher the ancient weapon secrets. Periodic energy surges disrupted their progress, causing moments of discomfort and temporary disconnection from the core. During one such interruption, Marcus Reed entered the chamber, his face etched with a mix of concern and purpose. Gerald, Zara, I need your input on something, he said, gesturing for them to join him at a nearby console. As they approached, Marcus brought up a tactical display of the Nexus Prime facility and the surrounding space. I've been organizing joint human-body training exercises, he explained. We need to improve coordination between our species, especially now that we have these new hybrid individuals to consider. Gerald studied the display, noting the complex formations and maneuvers outlined in the exercise plans. It's a good idea, he said. Have you had a chance to assess the capabilities of the hybrids? Marcus nodded, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. That's what I wanted to show you. The initial results have been impressive. He tapped a few commands, and the display shifted to show recorded footage from the training sessions. Hybrid individuals move with enhanced speed and agility, their movements fluid and precise. In simulated combat scenarios, they demonstrated an uncanny ability to anticipate and counter attacks. Their physical abilities are enhanced, Zara observed, her scales shimmering with interest. But look there, see how they're coordinating without verbal communication? Gerald leaned in closer, noticing the subtle signs of telepathic communication between the hybrid team members. The vaccine must have enhanced their latent telepathic abilities as well. Marcus nodded. Exactly. We're still assessing the full extent of their capabilities, but it's clear they could be valuable assets in the coming conflict. As they discussed strategies for integrating the hybrid units into their defense plans, a violent tremor shook the facility. Alarms blared, and the lighting shifted to a pulsing red. What's happening? Gerald shouted over the din. Marcus's hands flew over the console, pulling up security feeds from around the facility. We're under attack, he said, his voice tight with tension. It's the Purist. They've launched an assault on the quantum core. The feed showed chaos erupting throughout the facility. Purist forces, led by a fierce-looking Wadi female, fought their way through security checkpoints, their target clear. That must be Nyla, Zara said, recognizing the leader from intelligence briefings. Gerald's scales rippled with urgency. We need to get back to the quantum core. If they manage to destroy it. Go, Marcus said, already coordinating defense efforts through his communicator. I'll organize our forces to repel the attack. Gerald and Zara raced back to the quantum core chamber, their hybrid physiology allowing them to move with incredible speed. As they approached, they saw signs of the battle. Scorch marks on walls, overturned equipment, and the occasional unconscious body of friend or foe. They burst into the chamber just as Nyla and her followers breached the final security door. The Purist leader's eyes blazed with fanatical willpower as she raised a weapon towards the pulsing heart of the quantum core. Stop, Gerald shouted, his voice carrying an unexpected resonance that made the air vibrate. Nyla turned, her expression a mix of surprise and disgust as she took in their hybrid forms. Abominations, she spat. You're the cause of this corruption. Once we destroy this machine, we'll put an end to your unnatural existence. As Nyla's finger tightened on the trigger, Gerald and Zara acted on pure instinct. They reached out with their minds, drawing upon their connection to the quantum core. To their shock, they felt the energy fields around them bend to their will. A shimmering distortion appeared between Nyla and the core, deflecting her shot harmlessly into the ceiling. The Purist forces stumbled. Caught off guard by the localized gravitational shift Gerald and Zara had unknowingly created. Realizing their newfound ability, the hybrid pair worked in perfect synchronization. They manipulated the energy fields to disarm and incapacitate Nyla and her followers, their movements guided by an innate understanding of the forces at their command. As the last Purist fell unconscious, Gerald and Zara stood in the center of the chamber, their bodies humming with residual energy. They exchanged a look of wonder and apprehension, knowing that their extended exposure to the quantum core had unlocked abilities beyond their wildest imagination. The facility's security forces flooded into the chamber, securing the fallen Purists. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the intercom. The attack has been repelled, but we have a new situation. During the assault, several partially transformed individuals were released from the quarantine zone. Gerald and Zara shared a concerned glance, realizing that the challenges they faced were just getting started. As they prepared to address this new crisis, they could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down upon them. The Human-Wadi alliance was changing in ways they couldn't have predicted, and they stood at the heart of this transformation. With the immediate threat neutralized, they turned their attention back to the quantum core. The ancient weapon system still lay dormant within its depths, waiting to be awakened. As the Void Hunters drew ever closer, Gerald and Zara knew that unlocking its secrets might be their only hope for survival. Survival. As the ancient weapon system beckoned, Gerald and Zara knew they had to act quickly. They approached the quantum core, its pulsing energy making their hybrid skin tingle. As they interfaced with the system, channeling massive amounts of energy through their bodies, the strain became immediately apparent. Their skin began to glow with an otherworldly light, and Gerald gritted his teeth against the discomfort. "We can do this," Zara said, her voice strained but determined. As they worked, Dr. Krell's team moved swiftly through the facility, administering the stabilized hybrid vaccine to key military personnel. The recipients underwent rapid transformations, their bodies shifting and adapting to incorporate both human and Wadi traits. In the command center, Commander Vex studied the tactical displays with growing concern. An urgent report flashed across the screen, drawing his attention. "Sir," a young officer called out, "our outer sensor array has detected Void Hunter stealth probes entering the system." Vex's eye stalks narrowed. "They're trying to gather intelligence on our defenses. Launch our hybrid squadron to intercept and destroy those probes immediately." As the newly transformed hybrid pilots rushed to their ships, Marcus Reed coordinated with civilian leaders throughout Nexus Prime. "We need to establish medical stations here, and here," he said, pointing to various locations on a holographic map. "Supply depots should be placed at these junctions, and we'll convert these structures into emergency shelters." Back in the quantum core chamber, Gerald and Zara pushed deeper into the ancient system's code. Suddenly, a cascade of information flooded their minds, revealing the true nature of the weapon. "It's not just a weapon," Gerald gasped, his eyes wide with realization. "It's a terraforming device. If we activate it, we could create a barrier that would destabilize the Void Hunter's physical form." Zara's scales rippled with excitement. That could neutralize their entire invasion force. Their elation was short-lived as they grasped the enormity of the task ahead. "We need to expand our telepathic link," Zara said, her voice tinged with awe. "Hundreds of hybrid pairs, all connected in a neural network." Gerald nodded, reaching out to contact Arden and Lasara. "We need your help to coordinate this effort. Can you begin training hybrid pairs in advanced telepathic techniques?" As Arden and Lasara set to work, a massive energy surge lit up the sensors at the edge of the system. The Void Hunter fleet decloaked, revealing its true size and power. Thousands of ships materialized, ranging from agile fighters to colossal dreadnoughts. Commander Vex's voice boomed through the facility's communication system. All defense forces to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Orbital defense platforms hummed to life, creating a web of energy barriers and weapons arrays around key strategic points. Hybrid fighter squadrons launched from hidden bases on Nexus Prime and its moons, forming the first line of defense against the approaching armada. In a surprising turn of events, a small group of Purist extremists approached Commander Vex's command post. Nyla, their leader, stepped forward, her expression a mix of drive and unease. "Commander," she said, her voice steady despite the circumstances, "we offer our skills in defense of our shared home. Despite our differences, we recognize the threat the Void Hunters pose to us all." Vex studied Nyla and her followers, weighing the potential risks and benefits. After a moment, he nodded. "Very well. We'll integrate your teams into non-critical defense roles. But be warned, any sign of betrayal will be met with swift consequences." As the Void Hunter fleet entered weapons range, Gerald and Zara made their final push to activate the terraforming device. They expanded their telepathic link, connecting with hundreds of hybrid pairs throughout the system. The strain of maintaining this vast neural network sent waves of intense pain through their bodies. Gerald's vision blurred, sweat beading on his forehead. "Stay with me, Zara," he gasped, feeling her presence and his mind wavering. "I'm here," she replied, her mental voice strained but unwavering. "We can do this." Outside, the void of space lit up with the first volleys of battle. Energy weapons lanced out from Alliance ships, meeting the advancing Void Hunter vanguard. Missiles streaked across the starfield, leaving trails of light in their wake. In the heart of Nexus Prime, Gerald and Zara stood at the center of the neural network, their bodies glowing with impossibly strong energy. As the battle raged around them, they began the activation sequence for the terraforming device. The quantum core pulsed with increasing intensity, its energy feeding into the vast machine that had lain dormant for millennia. Gerald and Zara felt the power building, threatening to overwhelm them. "Now!" Gerald shouted, both aloud and through the neural network. As one, the connected hybrid pairs focused their minds, channeling the immense energy of the terraforming device. A wave of distortion began to spread from Nexus Prime, rippling outward towards the edges of the star system. The leading edge of the Void Hunter fleet encountered the wave first. Their ships began to shimmer and distort, their very substance seeming to unravel in the altered space-time. But the battle was just getting started. As the terraforming wave expanded, the Void Hunters launched a desperate counterattack, focusing their fire on Nexus Prime's orbital defenses. The Alliance fleet moved to intercept, engaging in a fierce dogfight that lit up the space around the planet. Gerald and Zara, at the heart of it all, pushed themselves to their limits, knowing that the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The war for the future of humanity in the Wadi had begun in earnest, its outcome yet to be determined. The terraforming wave expanded outward, but the battle was a long way to go. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy pulsed through the quantum core, sending shock waves through the neural network. Gerald and Zara cried out in unison as the backlash hit them, severing their connection to the other hybrid pairs. They stumbled, their bodies glowing with residual energy as they collapsed to the floor. "Gerald!" Zara gasped, her scales flickering with an iridescent sheen. "What happened?" Gerald shook his head, trying to clear the fog from his mind. "I don't know." "The core. It overloaded somehow." As they struggled to their feet, Dr. Krell burst into the chamber, his medical scanner already whirring. "Don't move," he ordered, running the device over their bodies. His eyes widened as he studied the results. Fascinating. The energy surge has accelerated your hybrid transformation. Your cellular structure is still in flux. Zara swayed, her body temperature rising rapidly. I feel strange, she said, her voice husky. Hot. And... Gerald, Dr. Krell's scanner beeped urgently. Oh no. Zara, you're entering an intense heat cycle. The energy surge must have triggered it. Gerald felt a wave of pheromones wash over him, his body responding instinctively to Zara's changing biology. He took a step towards her, then forced himself to stop, his mind racing. Doctor, what does this mean for the mission? Before Krell could answer, Commander Vex's voice crackled over the intercom. The Void Hunters are launching a concentrated attack on our orbital platforms. We need that terraforming device operational now. Dr. Krell shook his head. It's not that simple. Zara's condition is volatile. Her pheromones are already affecting nearby Wadi and hybrid individuals. If we don't manage this, it could compromise our entire defense strategy. In the command center, Marcus Reed received the doctor's report with growing alarm. He immediately initiated emergency protocols, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. Attention all personnel. His voice boomed through the facility. Implement containment procedures Alpha 7. Non-essential hybrid and Wadi staff are to report to designated isolation zones immediately. As chaos erupted throughout the base, Arden and Lasara approached Gerald and Zara, their ancient eyes gleaming with an idea. The heat cycle, Arden said, his voice urgent. It could be the key to reactivating the terraforming device. Lasara nodded. The heightened emotions, the physical changes, they could provide the energy catalyst we need to overcome the core's disruption. Gerald looked at Zara, who was visibly struggling to maintain her composure. Is that even possible? He asked, his voice tight with concern. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. On the tactical displays, dozens of small objects were breaching Nexus Prime's atmosphere. Void Hunter drop pods, shouted a tactical officer. They're deploying ground forces. Commander Vex's voice cut through the din. All available units, prepare for ground assault. Protect the quantum core at all costs. As the sounds of battle echoed through the corridors, Gerald and Zara exchanged a look of tenacity. We have to try, Zara said, her scales rippling with scarcely controlled energy. If we can reactivate the terraforming device, we might be able to end this war before it's too late. Dr. Krell hesitated, then nodded. I'll monitor your vital signs, but be careful. We don't fully understand the implications of your accelerated transformation. Gerald took Zara's hand, feeling the electric connection between them intensify. As they approached the quantum core, its pulsing light seemed to resonate with their own energy signatures. Arden and Lasara began the activation sequence, their ancient knowledge guiding them through the complex process. Focus on your connection, Lasara instructed. Let the energy flow between you. As Gerald and Zara joined their minds, the quantum core hummed to life. Energy arced between them and the ancient machine, their bodies becoming conduits for its immense power. The air crackled with potential as the terraforming device slowly reactivated. Outside, the battle raged on multiple fronts. Hybrid squadrons engaged Void Hunter ships in furious dogfights, while on the ground, Alliance forces clashed with the invaders' grotesque shock troops. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, with Gerald and Zara standing at the epicenter of the conflict. Suddenly, a new complication arose. A small group of Void Hunter ships broke from the main fleet, approaching under a flag of truce. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the comm system, tense with suspicion. We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. They're requesting asylum. As Gerald and Zara poured their energy into the terraforming device, they could feel the tide of battle shifting. But with Void Hunter ground forces advancing and a potential defector in their midst, The outcome remained far from certain. The next few moments would determine the future of both humanity and the Wadi, as the war entered its most critical phase. As Gerald and Zara poured their energy into the terraforming device, a sudden surge of heat coursed through their bodies. Zara's scales flickered with an intense iridescence, her breath coming in short gasps. "Gerald," she panted, her voice strained. "Something's wrong." "I feel different." Gerald felt it too, a primal urge building within him, his skin tingling with an unfamiliar electricity. He turned to Dr. Krell, who was frantically scanning them with his medical device. "Doctor, what's happening to us?" Gerald asked, fighting to maintain his composure. Dr. Krell's eyes widened as he studied the readings. "The energy surge has accelerated your hybrid transformation. Zara, you've entered an intense heat cycle. Your pheromones are extraordinary." As if on cue, a wave of Zara's pheromones washed over the room. Nearby Wadi and hybrid personnel stumbled, their eyes glazing over as the potent chemicals affected their biology. Even Arden and Lasara, with their millennia of experience, seemed momentarily disoriented. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the intercom, tension evident in his tone. "Dr. Krell, what's the situation down there? We're receiving reports of erratic behavior throughout the facility." Krell pressed a button on his communicator. "Commander, we have a biological crisis. Zara's heat cycle is triggering widespread physiological responses. We need to implement containment procedures immediately." "Understood," Vex replied, initiating Protocol Alpha 7. Alarms blared throughout the complex as Marcus Reed's voice boomed over the facility-wide communication system. "Attention all personnel. Implement containment procedures Alpha 7. Non-essential hybrid and Wadi staff are to report to designated isolation zones immediately." As chaos erupted in the corridors, Dr. Krell turned to Gerald and Zara. "We need to move you to a secure location. Your condition is too volatile to remain here." Gerald nodded, supporting Zara as they made their way out of the quantum core chamber. The air seemed to shimmer around them, heavy with pheromones that were rapidly mutating and intensifying. As they traversed the facility, Gerald noticed his own body responding to Zara's condition. His skin flushed, and he felt a surge of complementary pheromones emanating from his pores. The effect on nearby humans was immediate. Technicians and soldiers alike stumbled, their focus wavering as the biological disruption spread. Commander Vex met them at the entrance to a high-security hangar, his face a mask of concern. "We're moving you to a containment chamber on Nexus Prime's third moon. It's our best chance at isolating the effect of your condition while allowing you to continue your work on the terraforming device." As they boarded a specially outfitted shuttle, alarms blared once more. Vex's communicator crackled to life, filling the hangar with the sounds of battle. "Commander," a frantic voice shouted, "the Void Hunters have launched a massive assault on our defensive perimeter. Thousands of ships incoming." Vex's heart made. "Hold the line. I'm on my way." He turned to Gerald and Zara. "We'll get you to the moon facility. The fate of our alliance may depend on your ability to activate that device." The shuttle lifted off, streaking through Nexus Prime's atmosphere. Through the viewports, Gerald and Zara watched as the space around the planet erupted in a furious firefight. Hybrid squadrons engaged Void Hunter ships in a deadly dance, energy weapons and missiles crisscrossing the void. On the planet's surface, the situation was equally dire. The shuttle's communication system crackled with reports of Void Hunter shock troops making landfall, engaging Alliance forces in brutal urban combat. As they approached the moon facility, Gerald felt Zara tremble beside him. Her scales were shifting rapidly, her body temperature fluctuating wildly. He took her hand, feeling the electric connection between them intensify. "Stay with me, Zara," he murmured. "We're almost there." The shuttle docked with the moon facility, and medical personnel rushed to escort Gerald and Zara to the containment chamber. The room, a marvel of advanced technology, had been rapidly repurposed from its original function of studying dangerous alien artifacts. As the sealed doors closed behind them, Gerald and Zara found themselves in an environment designed to stabilize their condition. The air was carefully filtered, the temperature precisely controlled. Slowly, they felt their raging hormones begin to subside, their heightened biological responses becoming manageable. Dr. Krell's voice came through the chamber's communication system. "Gerald, Zara, can you hear me? How are you feeling?" Zara took a deep breath, her scales settling into a more stable pattern. "Better, doctor. The intensity. It's not gone, but it's under control." Gerald nodded in agreement. "We can focus again. What's the situation out there?" Krell's response was grim. "The Void Hunters are pressing their advantage. Our forces are struggling to maintain cohesion due to the lingering effects of your pheromones. And we've just received word that Nyla's Purist faction is attempting to seize control of the main facility." Gerald and Zara exchanged a determined look. "We need to reestablish our connection to the quantum core," Gerald said. "There has to be a way to use this transformation to our advantage." As they approached the chamber's control interface, they felt a surge of energy course through them. Their heightened hybrid state seemed to grant them unprecedented access to the ancient systems. Zara's eyes widened as she manipulated the holographic display. "Gerald, look at this. There's a hidden subroutine in the terraforming device." Gerald leaned in, his mind racing as he processed the information. "It's some kind of last resort measure. We might be able to activate the device using the energy generated by our biological bond." As they delved deeper into the ancient code, the implications of their discovery became clear. Activating the subroutine could end the war, but at a tremendous personal cost. The process would permanently alter their physiology, transforming them into something entirely new. The chamber's communication system crackled to life once more, this time with Commander Vex's urgent voice. "Gerald, Zara, we receive your findings. The Alliance leadership is divided on how to proceed. We need your input." Gerald and Zara stood at the precipice of a monumental decision. The battle raged around them, the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance. As they contemplated their next move, they knew that whatever choice they made would irrevocably change the course of history and themselves. Their very existence, the weight of their decision pressed upon them, heavier than the artificial gravity of the moon facility. "We have to do it," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "For everyone." Gerald nodded, squeezing her hand. "Together, then." Commander Vex's voice crackled through the communication system once more. "Gerald, Zara, we're out of time. The Void Hunters have breached our primary defenses. We need to activate the device now." Dr. Krell's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grave. "I've analyzed the data from your hybrid bond. The risks are significant. You may experience permanent physiological changes, or worse, a complete loss of your individual identities." Gerald and Zara exchanged a look of tenacity. "We understand, Doctor," Gerald replied, "but we have to try." As they prepared for the activation sequence, alarms blared throughout the facility. Marcus Reed's voice boomed over the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Nyla's Purist faction is approaching the moon facility. All available units, prepare for immediate engagement." Outside the containment chamber, the sounds of battle erupted. Hybrid soldiers, secretly deployed by Marcus, clashed with Nyla's forces in a desperate attempt to protect Gerald and Zara. Inside the chamber, the couple approached the control interface. Their fingers danced across the holographic display, initializing the connection to the terraforming device. Energy crackled around them, their bodies beginning to emit a soft, pulsating light. On Nexus Prime, Arden and Lasara worked feverishly to synchronize the terraforming device with Gerald and Zara's energy signatures. The ancient machine hummed to life, its core pulsing in rhythm with the couple's hybrid bond. Void Hunter forces approaching our position. A soldier shouted over the comm system. Arden and Lasara exchanged a grim look, knowing they had to complete their work before the enemy breached their defenses. In orbit, the space battle took an unexpected turn. Caxlor, the renegade Void Hunter, led a squadron of hybrid fighters in a daring assault on the enemy flagship. His intimate knowledge of Void Hunter tactics allowed him to exploit weaknesses in their formation, creating chaos in the enemy fleet. Back in the containment chamber, Gerald and Zara's bodies began to shimmer with increasing intensity. The energy generated by their hybrid bond flowed through the facility systems, creating a cascading effect that spread throughout the star system. Energy levels are off the charts, Dr. Krell exclaimed, his eyes wide as he monitored the readings. The hybrid pairs across the system. They're amplifying the signal. The activation process triggered a series of unexpected phenomena. Gravitational fields fluctuated wildly, causing Void Hunter ships to lose their phase shift capabilities. The atmosphere of Nexus Prime shimmered with waves of energy, disrupting the neural control over the Void Hunter ground troops. As the terraforming device reached full power, it emitted a massive pulse of energy that engulfed the entire star system. The pulse interacted with the quantum fields, sustaining the Void Hunter's physical forms, causing them to destabilize. In space, Void Hunter ships began to flicker and distort. Their crews struggled to maintain cohesion as their bodies lost structural integrity. On the surface of Nexus Prime, Void Hunter soldiers collapsed, their forms dissolving into swirling mists of energy. The Human-Wadi Alliance forces experienced the pulse differently. Hybrid individuals felt a surge of power coursing through their bodies, their abilities enhanced beyond normal limits. This unexpected boost allowed them to quickly overpower the remaining Void Hunter resistance. In the containment chamber, Gerald and Zara's physical forms began to break down. Their individual consciousnesses threatened to dissipate into the vast network created by the terraforming device. Gerald, Zara, Dr. Krell's voice was frantic. Your vital signs are critical. We're losing you. Arden and Lasara, monitoring the situation from Nexus Prime, acted swiftly. They initiated an emergency protocol, using the ancient systems to create a localized field around Gerald and Zara. Hold on! Lasara's voice echoed through the chamber. We're trying to contain your essence. The couple's bodies flickered, their forms becoming increasingly translucent. They reached for each other, their hands passing through one another as they struggled to maintain their connection. Outside the moon facility, the battle between the hybrid defenders and Nyla's Purist faction reached its climax. The hybrids, empowered by the energy pulse, pushed back against the attackers with renewed vigor. As the energy storm began to subside, the star system slowly stabilized. The Void Hunter threat had been neutralized, their ships and soldiers reduced to harmless particles drifting through space. In the containment chamber, the brilliant light surrounding Gerald and Zara faded. The implications of this discovery were not lost on Commander Vex, who had been observing the proceedings. He stepped forward, his face set with purpose. We need to take precautions. Dr. Krell, begin work on a special living quarters for Gerald and Zara. I want advanced air filtration systems and all necessary safeguards in place. As the facility buzzed with activity, news of Gerald and Zara's successful transformation spread rapidly through the Alliance. On Nexus Prime, Marcus Reed, leader of the integrationist group, saw an opportunity to push for accelerated hybrid integration programs. This is the breakthrough we've been waiting for, Reed announced to a gathering of supporters. Gerald and Zara have shown us the true potential of human-Wadi cooperation. We must seize this moment to forge a stronger, more unified alliance. Not everyone shared Reed's enthusiasm. In the shadows of Nexus Prime's lower levels, remnants of the Purist movement gathered in secret. Their faces were grim, their voices low as they discussed ways to resist what they saw as a threat to their species' purity. Meanwhile, on a nearby training ground, the first group of hybrid soldiers completed their final exercises. These new warriors moved with fluid precision, their bodies seamlessly blending human and Wadi traits. Commander Vex watched their demonstration with a critical eye, weighing the potential benefits against the ethical concerns that had been raised. Expand the program, he ordered, his decision made. But keep it closely monitored. We need to understand every aspect of their development. Back in the medical facility, Gerald and Zara were adjusting to their new reality. Their enhanced senses made every experience intense, almost overwhelming. As they sat together, their hands intertwined, a wave of emotion passed between them. Suddenly, the medical staff around them staggered, overcome by a surge of empathic energy. Dr. Krell steadied himself against a nearby console, his face flushed. "We'll need to work on controlling that," he said, his voice strained. "Your emotional projections are quite potent." As the days passed, Dr. Krell assembled a team of human and Wadi scientists to study Gerald and Zara's unique biology. They worked tirelessly, probing the limits of the couple's newfound abilities and searching for any potential health risks. During one session, Gerald's hand began to glow with an intense light. To everyone's amazement, he manipulated the energy field around a nearby piece of equipment, causing it to levitate briefly before settling back down. "Incredible," Dr. Krell breathed, furiously taking notes. "You're interacting with energy fields in ways we've never seen before. This could revolutionize our understanding of physics, of biology, of everything." As Gerald and Zara's recovery progressed, they were allowed short excursions outside their specialized quarters. Their presence in the corridors of Nexus Prime caused a stir, drawing curious stares and whispered conversations. Some approached them with reverence, seeing them as harbingers of a new era. Others kept their distance, unease evident in their body language. Gerald and Zara felt the weight of these reactions, understanding that they now stood at the center of a profound shift in Alliance society. In response to the growing hybrid population, Commander Vex established a new governance division dedicated to addressing their unique needs. This decision sparked heated debates in the Alliance Council chambers. "We must embrace this change," argued one counselor, her voice passionate. "Our diversity is our strength." "But at what cost?" countered another, his face creased with concern. "We're venturing into unknown territory. The risks dash." Their debate was interrupted by an urgent communication. Reports were coming in of unauthorized hybrid experiments in remote outposts. Rogue scientists, inspired by Gerald and Zara's transformation, were pushing the boundaries of human-Wadi integration without oversight or safeguards. Commander Vex's face hardened as he processed this information. "Dispatch investigation teams immediately," he ordered. "Shut down these operations before they cause irreparable harm." As the Alliance grappled with these internal challenges, the threat of the Void Hunters loomed on the horizon. Caxlor worked tirelessly with Alliance engineers, developing new sensor arrays capable of detecting phase-shifted vessels. In the dim light of a control room, Caxlor monitored the newly deployed early warning network. His eyes scanned the readouts, searching for any sign of the enemy that had once nearly destroyed them all. The Alliance stood at a crossroads, facing challenges both internal and external. As Gerald and Zara continued to explore the extent of their new abilities, the future of human-Wadi relations hung in the balance. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with both peril and possibility, promise and uncertainty. As the facility buzzed with activity in response to the potential Void Hunter threat, another unforeseen challenge began to emerge. Dr. Krell's nose twitched as he leaned in to examine Gerald and Zara once more. "Curious," he muttered, adjusting his scanner. There's a unique olfactory signature emanating from both of you. It seems your bodies are producing a previously undetected pheromone. Commander Vex's eyes narrowed. Pheromones? What are the implications, Doctor? Before Dr. Krell could respond, a commotion erupted in the corridor outside. Two technicians stumbled into the room, their faces flushed and breathing heavy. They looked at each other with a mixture of confusion and barely concealed desire. We, one of them stammered, unable to tear his gaze away from his colleague. We don't know what came over us. Dr. Krell's eyes widened as he connected the dots. It's the pheromones, he said, his voice a mix of awe and concern. Together, they pushed through the pain, their shared purpose reinforcing the network. In the command center, alarms blared as new information flooded in. Victor Kane had revealed his true colors, transmitting critical defense data to the Void Hunter fleet. The traitor's actions threatened to unravel everything the Alliance had fought for. All available units converge on Kane's location, Vex ordered, his thoughts tinged with a mixture of anger and betrayal. Through the network, he felt the response of his hybrid operatives as they moved to intercept the turncoat. The space battle reached a fever pitch as Void Hunter ships, armed with Kane's intelligence, pressed their advantage. Alliance vessels found themselves outmaneuvered, their carefully laid defense plans compromised. On the ground, Reed's team fought their way through waves of Purist loyalists, inching closer to the main power core. The fate of Nexus Prime hung in the balance as they raced to prevent a catastrophic overload. As the crisis reached its peak, the mysterious alien ship began to move. Its massive form glided silently through space, approaching Nexus Prime with inscrutable intent. Both Alliance and Void Hunter forces paused momentarily, uncertain how to react to this new player in their conflict. The strain on Gerald and Zara intensified, their mental link to the thousands of hybrids beginning to fluctuate. Across Nexus Prime, individuals experienced brief moments of disorientation as the telepathic network wavered. Dr. Krell's team worked frantically to stabilize the couple's condition, knowing that the loss of the network could spell doom for the Alliance. The doctor himself alternated between monitoring Gerald and Zara and coordinating the ongoing distribution of the stabilizing agent to newly transformed hybrids. As the multiple crises converged, the future of the Human-Wadi Alliance hung by a thread. The space battle raged on. Kane's betrayal threatened to unravel their defenses from within, and the mysterious alien ship loomed ever closer. In the midst of this chaos, the hybrid individuals of Nexus Prime fought on, their shared consciousness both their greatest strength and their most vulnerable point. Commander Vex stood at the heart of it all, his mind processing the flood of information from countless sources. He knew that the next few moments would determine not just the fate of Nexus Prime, but the future of their entire hybrid civilization. With steely determination, he prepared to make the decisions that would shape the course of history. With steely persistence, he prepared to make the decisions that would shape the course of their future. Suddenly, the telepathic network flickered, causing a wave of disorientation to sweep through the hybrid forces. Commander Vex stumbled, gripping the edge of a nearby console to steady himself. In the specialized chamber, Gerald and Zara's bodies convulsed violently, their faces contorted in pain. Dr. Krell's voice cut through the chaos. "We're losing them. The strain is too much." Without hesitation, Krell reached for a vial of luminous blue liquid. He loaded it into an auto-injector and pressed it against Gerald's neck, then quickly did the same for Zara. The effect was instantaneous. Their bodies stiffened, then relaxed as a soft blue glow enveloped them. Gerald's eyes snapped open, now shimmering with an otherworldly light. The network. "It's expanding," he gasped. Zara nodded, her scales pulsating with renewed energy. "I can sense everything." Throughout Nexus Prime, hybrid individuals felt a surge of clarity and connection. Pilots in the command center Commander Vex received urgent reports of unusual behavior among the hybrid population, increased aggression in some, heightened affection in others, and a general state of arousal that threatened to disrupt daily operations. We need to consider planet-wide containment measures, one of his advisors suggested. Vex frowned, his mind racing. Not yet. Let's see how this plays out. Alert all security forces to be on high alert, but tell them to use non-lethal methods only. These are our people, not enemies. Meanwhile, on the edge of the star system, Caxlor and his team of hybrid operatives approached the Hidden Void Hunter outpost. Their ship, cloaked with the latest stealth technology, slipped past the outpost's outer defenses undetected. Remember, Caxlor said to his team as they prepared to board, our primary objective is to neutralize their phase shift technology. We can't let them gain the ability to bypass our defenses. As the strike team infiltrated the outpost, back on Nexus Prime, the situation continued to escalate. In Marcus Reed's hybrid training facilities, a group of advanced trainees had caught wind of Dr. Krell's fertility treatment. Inspired by the reports of Gerald and Zara's evolving abilities, they decided to take matters into their own hands. Using stolen research data, the trainees attempted to replicate the treatment. Their unsupervised experiments led to a series of uncontrolled mutations. Energy crackled around their bodies, scorching walls and equipment. Reed burst into the training area, his eyes widening at the scene of chaos before him. Everyone, stand down, he shouted, activating emergency containment fields. But it was too late to prevent all the damage. Several facilities were already in ruins, smoke rising from shattered windows. As Reed worked to contain the situation, a new crisis emerged. The exploratory mission led by Colonel Arias in the neighboring star system had made a startling discovery. Their long-range communications crackled to life, bringing urgent news to Nexus Prime. Command, this is Colonel Arias. The transmission began. We've found something incredible. An abandoned space station of unknown origin. The technology here, it's like nothing we've ever seen. But there's more. We've accidentally activated some kind of energy beacon. It's broadcasting a signal across the galaxy. We need instructions on how to proceed. The signal from the ancient space station reached Nexus Prime, interacting with the planet's hybrid communication networks in unexpected ways. Systems flickered and faltered, causing widespread disruptions. In Dr. Krell's facility, Gerald and Zara suddenly staggered, overwhelmed by a flood of vivid shared visions. Images of ancient civilizations, advanced technologies, and the true origins of human-body hybridization flashed through their minds. As they clung to each other, trying to make sense of what they were seeing, alarms blared throughout the facility. Dr. Krell rushed in, his face pale with concern. We need to stabilize you immediately, he said, preparing a new set of injections. Your condition is affecting the entire planet. We have to get this under control before. His words were cut off as another wave of energy pulsed through the facility, causing the lights to flicker ominously. Gerald and Zara exchanged looks of both excitement and trepidation. Realizing that they stood at the precipice of a new chapter in hybrid history, one that would shape the destiny of their entire civilization. As Gerald and Zara grappled with the flood of visions, the facility around them erupted into chaos. Dr. Krell's hands shook as he prepared the stabilizing injections. Hold still, he urged, approaching the glowing couple. But before he could administer the treatment, another wave of energy pulsed through the room, knocking the syringe from his grasp. Alarms blared, their shrill cry echoing through the corridors. The air grew thick with an overpowering scent, a mixture of ozone and something primal, instinctual. Gerald felt his skin tingle, every nerve ending alive with sensation. Doctor, Zara gasped, her scales rippling with iridescent light. What's happening to us? Dr. Krell backed away, his eyes wide. Your pheromone levels. They're off the charts. We need to contain this now. The scientist rushed to a nearby console, his fingers flying over the controls. With a low hum, shimmering force fields sprang to life around Gerald and Zara, creating a translucent bubble that separated them from the rest of the room. This should hold, Dr. Krell muttered, more to himself than to the couple. But we need to... His words were cut short as the facility's communication system crackled to life. Commander Vex's voice filled the room, tense and urgent. Dr. Krell, report. What's the situation down there? Commander, Krell responded, his voice strained, we've managed to isolate Gerald and Zara, but their condition is evolving. The pheromones are more potent than we anticipated. We need to evacuate non-essential personnel immediately. Understood, Vex replied. I'm dispatching a containment team. Hold your position. As the facility bustled with frantic activity, Gerald and Zara stood within their force field bubble, their bodies pulsing with energy. Through their enhanced senses, they could feel the ripple effect of their condition spreading beyond the facility's walls. Zara, Gerald whispered, reaching for her hand. Can you feel it? The others. They're responding to us. Zara nodded, her eyes unfocused as she processed the flood of sensations. It's like a web connecting all of us, growing stronger. Outside the treatment room, hybrid staff members moved with increasing urgency, their movements becoming more fluid, more coordinated. As they worked to secure the facility, many found themselves drawn towards the source of the pheromones, their bodies reacting instinctively to the powerful scent. Dr. Krell watched in fascination and horror as the effects spread. Despite the force fields, trace amounts of the pheromones were seeping through the facility's ventilation system. He could see the changes in his staff. Dilated pupils, flushed skin, heightened awareness. This is unprecedented, he murmured, furiously taking notes on his data pad. The implications for our entire species. The whoosh of the main doors interrupted his thoughts. A team of hybrid operatives strode in, each wearing a sleek, form-fitting suit that covered them from head to toe. Their leader, a tall, imposing figure, approached Dr. Krell. We're here on Commander Vex's orders, the operative stated, his voice slightly muffled by his helmet. We'll establish a wider containment perimeter and assist with evacuation procedures. Dr. Krell nodded, relieved. Thank you. We need to move quickly. The pheromones are spreading faster than we can. A sudden tremor shook the facility, causing equipment to rattle and alarms to blare even louder. Within their force field bubble, Gerald and Zara gasped in unison, their bodies arching as if struck by an invisible force. What was that? The lead operative demanded, scanning the room for threats. Dr. Krell rushed to his monitoring equipment, his eyes widening as he read the displays. It's Gerald and Zara. Their neural patterns. They're synchronizing with something powerful. As the scientists worked frantically to make sense of the data, Gerald and Zara stood transfixed, their minds overwhelmed by a torrent of images and sensations. They saw flashes of ancient civilizations, glimpses of technologies beyond their comprehension, and tantalizing hints about the true origins of their hybrid nature. Doctor, Zara called out, her voice strained, we can see. So much. The station Colonel Arias found. It's connected to us somehow. To all of us. Gerald nodded, his eyes glowing with an inner light. It's waking up, Doctor, and it's not alone. Before Dr. Krell could respond, the facility's communication system crackled once more. This time, it was Marcus Reed's voice that filled the room, tight with awe-inspiring panic. Dr. Krell, are you seeing this? The trainees. Their abilities are off the charts. We can't contain them, and the construction crews at the Lagrange point. They're working at impossible speeds. What the hell is going on? As chaos unfolded across Nexus Prime, at the edge of the star system, Caxlor and his strike team approached the Hidden Void Hunter outpost. Unaware of the crisis developing on their home world, they focused on their mission, their hybrid-enhanced ships gliding silently through space. Caxlor's eyes narrowed as the outpost came into view. "Prepare for infiltration," he commanded his team. "Remember, our primary objective is to neutralize their phase shift technology. We can't let them gain the upper hand." As the strike team readied themselves for their assault, back on Nexus Prime, Gerald and Zara's transformation reached its peak. Their bodies pulsed with blinding light, overloading the force field containment system. Dr. Krell and the containment team shielded their eyes as the energy burst washed over them. In that moment, across the planet, every hybrid felt a sudden, overwhelming connection. Minds linked, emotions surged, and for a brief, breathtaking instant, the entire hybrid population of Nexus Prime shared a single, unified consciousness. As the light faded and the hybrid minds began to separate once more, Gerald and Zara collapsed to the floor, their bodies still glowing faintly. Dr. Krell rushed to their side, his medical scanner whirring. "Are they all right?" the lead operative asked, his voice tense. Before Dr. Krell could answer, the facility's long-range sensors began to blare a new alarm. The scientist's face paled as he read the incoming data. "Commander Vex," he called out, his voice shaking, "we're detecting a fleet of unidentified vessels entering the system. Their technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen." As the implications of this new threat sank in, Gerald stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He reached for Zara's hand, their fingers intertwining as they both gazed up at the concerned faces surrounding them. "Doctor," Gerald said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we need to prepare. Everything is about to change. Change. The ancient technology is awakening, and we're all connected to it." Dr. Krell opened his mouth to respond, but his words were drowned out by a sudden, overwhelming sensation that swept through the room. Every hybrid present felt a jolt of energy coursing through their bodies, their minds expanding in ways they never thought possible. Gerald and Zara gasped in unison, their bodies arching off the floor as waves of information flooded their consciousness. The force field that had contained them moments ago flickered and died, overloaded by the surge of power emanating from the couple. Across Nexus Prime, hybrids everywhere experienced a similar awakening. In factories, offices, and homes, individuals found themselves suddenly aware of a vast network connecting them all. The air hummed with potential as newly enhanced abilities began to manifest. Back in the medical facility, Dr. Krell struggled to maintain his composure as his own hybrid physiology responded to the transformation. His hands trembled as he reached for his data pad, fingers flying across the screen as he recorded the unprecedented event unfolding before him. "Commander Vex," he called out, his voice strained with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "We're witnessing a mass synchronization event. The entire hybrid population is evolving." Commander Vex's response came through the facility's speakers, his tone sharp with urgency. "Doctor, I need a full report. What are the implications of this? Evolution?" Before Dr. Krell could respond, Gerald sat up abruptly, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Commander," he said, his voice resonating with newfound authority, "we are the focal points of a newly enhanced hybrid network. The ancient technology integrated into our society has been fully activated." Zara joined him, her scales shimmering with iridescent energy. "We can see the potential, Commander. Our people are capable of so much more now." Commander Vex wasted no time. His voice crackled through the communications system once more, addressing not just the medical facility, but the entire planet. "Attention all hybrid citizens of Nexus Prime. In light of recent developments, I am ordering the immediate integration of our enhanced abilities into our defense strategy. All hybrid technicians are to report to their nearest military installation for reassignment." As the commander's orders echoed across Nexus Prime, the scene shifted to the edge of the star system. Caxlor and his strike team had successfully infiltrated the hidden Void Hunter outpost. They moved with preternatural grace and speed, their enhanced abilities allowing them to bypass security measures with ease. Caxlor's eyes narrowed as he spotted their primary objective, a prototype phase shift device. Without hesitation, he approached the alien technology, feeling an inexplicable connection to its intricate circuitry. "Stand guard," he ordered his team before placing his hands on the device's control panel. A jolt of electricity arced between his fingers and the alien interface, and suddenly, Caxlor's mind was awash with information. He saw schematics, algorithms, and operational protocols flash before his eyes. In a matter of seconds, he had extracted crucial data on the device's capabilities and limitations. Caxlor blinked, coming back to himself with a sharp intake of breath. "We have what we need," he announced to his team. "Let's move out." As Caxlor's team made their swift exit, the focus returned to Nexus Prime. In the medical facility, Dr. Krell's team worked feverishly to analyze the data from Gerald and Zara's treatment. The results were staggering. "This is incredible," Dr. Krell muttered, his eyes wide as he studied the readouts. "The fertility boost has altered their genetic structure at a fundamental level. We could potentially develop hybrid embryos with unprecedented abilities." Ambassador Junka, who had arrived to observe the situation firsthand, frowned at the implications. "We must proceed with caution, Doctor. The ethical considerations of creating a new generation of hybrids with such power are significant." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Lagrange point. The hybrid work crews tasked with constructing the new space station reported that their progress had accelerated beyond all expectations. Enhanced abilities allowed them to intuitively understand and implement complex designs, incorporating elements of the newly activated ancient technology. Ambassador Junka's antennae twitched with interest. "This station could be the key to our defense," she mused. "A focal point for a system-wide network." As plans for the new defense network took shape, Alliance sensors detected a surge of energy from the approaching unidentified fleet. Complex patterns of signals began to emanate from the vessels, resonating with the hybrid population of Nexus Prime. Gerald and Zara, their abilities now far surpassing those of ordinary hybrids, were the first to decipher the meaning behind the signals. They turned to Commander Vex, their faces alight with a mixture of awe and urgency. "Commander," Gerald said, his voice filled with conviction, "these ships, they're not hostile. They're trying to communicate with us." Zara nodded in agreement. "We believe they're connected to the origins of our hybrid abilities. This could be the key to understanding our true purpose." Commander Vex absorbed this information, his mind racing with the potential implications. After a moment of contemplation, he made a decision that would alter the course of their civilization. "Prepare a diplomatic envoy," he ordered, his voice firm. "Gerald, Zara, you'll lead the mission. We'll meet these visitors at the edge of our star system." As preparations for the diplomatic mission began in earnest, the enhanced hybrid population of Nexus Prime continued to adapt to their new abilities. The air thrummed with possibility, the entire planet poised on the brink of a revelation that promised to redefine their understanding of hybrid origins and reshape the future of their civilization. In the midst of this transformation, the diplomatic envoy prepared to embark on their journey to meet the mysterious fleet. Gerald and Zara stood at the helm of their ship, their enhanced senses already reaching out towards the approaching vessels, ready to uncover the truth behind their hybrid nature and the ancient technology that had awakened within them. As the diplomatic envoy's ship approached the mysterious fleet, Gerald and Zara stood at the helm, their enhanced senses reaching out towards the approaching vessels. The couple's eyes widened in unison as they detected a sudden shift in the energy signatures emanating from the lead ship. "Commander," Gerald called out, his voice tinged with awe, "something's happening." Before Commander Vex could respond, The lead ship's vast bay doors began to open, revealing a sight that left the entire crew breathless. A massive, crystalline structure pulsed with vibrant energy, its intricate patterns reminiscent of the fertility treatment chamber back on Nexus Prime. Zara gasped, her scales shimmering with excitement. It's like our chamber, but on an unimaginable scale. As the crew watched in amazement, their ship was enveloped by an invisible force, gently guiding them towards the open bay. Gerald and Zara exchanged a look of understanding, their enhanced abilities allowing them to sense the benevolent nature of the unseen power. "We're being invited in," Gerald announced, his voice calm despite the extraordinary circumstances. Commander Vex nodded, his years of experience evident in his measured response. "Proceed with caution. Gerald, Zara, you'll lead the delegation. Your enhanced abilities make you our best chance at communication." As their ship docked within the cavernous bay, Gerald and Zara led the small group of diplomats and security personnel onto the alien vessel. The moment they stepped off their ship, they felt a resonance within their bodies, as if the very air was alive with energy. Zara's antennae twitched, picking up subtle vibrations in the atmosphere. "Gerald, do you feel that? It's like the ship is alive." Before Gerald could respond, they were greeted by the sight of tall, luminescent beings gliding towards them. The creatures' bodies seemed to shimmer with an inner light, their features both alien and strangely familiar. As the beings approached, Gerald and Zara felt a sudden influx of information flooding their minds. Images, concepts, and emotions washed over them in a torrent of telepathic communication, interwoven with complex pheromonal signals that their enhanced hybrid physiology instinctively understood. "We welcome you, children of two worlds," the lead being communicated, its thoughts resonating in the minds of the hybrid couple. "We are the progenitors, the architects of your existence." Gerald stepped forward, his mind racing to process the implications of this revelation. "You created us?" The progenitors' form pulsed with affirmation. "We seeded the galaxy with the potential for hybridization. Humans and Wadi were part of our grand experiment, an attempt to create a new species capable of transcending physical limitations and achieving a higher state of consciousness." As this information was relayed to the rest of the delegation, looks of shock and wonder spread across their faces. Commander Vex, ever the pragmatist, spoke up. "Why reveal yourselves now?" The progenitor turned its attention to the commander, its thoughts conveying a sense of urgency and excitement. "The recent events on your world, the mass hybridization, the awakening of dormant abilities, mark the final stage of our experiment. Your people have reached a critical point in their evolution." While this conversation unfolded aboard the progenitor ship, back on Nexus Prime, Dr. Krell made a startling discovery in his laboratory. Poring over the data from Gerald and Zara's treatment, his eyes widened as he realized the true nature of the changes they had undergone. "It's not just them," he muttered to himself, his fingers flying across his data pad. The treatment unlocked dormant genes present in all hybrids, genes that allow for rapid adaptation and evolution. As this revelation spread through the hybrid network that now connected the planet's population, a ripple effect of accelerated growth and development swept across Nexus Prime. In homes, factories, and research facilities, hybrids found themselves suddenly capable of intuitive leaps and feats of innovation that would have been impossible mere hours ago. Meanwhile, aboard the progenitor ship, Gerald and Zara continued to absorb the wealth of knowledge being shared with them. The progenitors explained how the couple's unique bond and enhanced pheromones had acted as a catalyst, triggering the final stage of hybrid evolution across Nexus Prime. As this information was relayed back to their homeworld, the planet itself began to change. The ancient technology integrated into its infrastructure, dormant for millennia, suddenly sprang to life. Buildings shifted and reformed, adapting to the needs of their enhanced inhabitants. The very ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with newfound energy, as if Nexus Prime itself had awakened as a living, breathing entity connected to every hybrid inhabitant. At the Lagrange point, the space station under construction underwent a dramatic transformation. Its partially completed structures reconfigured themselves, guided by the intuitive understanding of the hybrid work crews. Within hours, it had become a shining beacon of advanced technology, a nexus point linking Nexus Prime to a vast network of similar hybrid worlds scattered across the galaxy. Commander Vex, witnessing these monumental changes through the ship's long-range sensors, made a decision that would alter the course of their civilization. He turned to the progenitors, his voice filled with conviction. On behalf of the people of Nexus Prime, I propose an alliance between our newly evolved hybrid civilization and your ancient race. Together, we can work towards fostering peace and understanding throughout the galaxy. The progenitors' response was immediate, their collective consciousness resonating with approval. They recognized the hybrids not just as the successful outcome of their experiment, but as their successors and equals in the cosmic order. As this historic alliance was forged, Gerald and Zara felt a final transformation beginning within them. Their bodies began to shimmer with intense energy, their physical forms becoming less distinct as they merged with the power coursing through the progenitor ship. "What's happening to us?" Zara asked, her voice echoing with newfound power. The lead progenitor's thoughts enveloped them, guiding them through the process. "You are becoming living conduits for the collective consciousness of your race. Through you, every hybrid mind across Nexus Prime and beyond will be connected, creating a vast network of shared knowledge and experience." As Gerald and Zara's transformation neared completion, their energy forms intertwined, their love for each other amplified and expanded to encompass their entire species. In this transcendent state, they gazed out at the transformed Nexus Prime, a world now shining with the unlimited potential of hybrid evolution. Their journey, which had begun with an unexpected encounter between a human male and a Wadi nurse, had culminated in the birth of a new species and the dawn of a new age for the galaxy. As they looked towards the future, Gerald and Zara knew that their greatest adventures were just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.